Sorry about yesterday. Didn't have any service in a spot. Thanks for jumping back on today. Um, Coming out of finals, you're always worried about where kids are at with mentally. Are they fired up? Are they fried a little bit? Are they rested or rusted? So practices have been good. We haven't really started until we'll start today, really specifically on Texas Tech. More recovery, review, a lot of stuff like that. But big matchup obviously with Texas Tech, somebody we played a couple years ago in the NIT. Good matchup for us. Looking forward to getting back on the court.
Evan,
Yeah, hey coach, how you doing?
Great.
Awesome. I'll start with a question on Phoenix. You've been excited the last couple of weeks talking about her, talked about her pretty highly. I want to say maybe a week or so ago. How's she been progressing, and how quickly do you expect her to be full speed?
Yeah, it'll be a transition period. Her nerves are starting to ramp up. She's been playing pretty loose and pretty free for a while. It starts to get a little tougher when you start knowing that you're going to put the uniform on and go out there. So I'm anxious for everybody to see her. We're trying not to put a lot of expectation on her, but I personally have very high expectations of her. She's a really talented kid. She's a competitor. She's going to help us on both sides of the ball. I've been wrestling with the idea of how to immerse her into what we've been doing. We've probably decided to kind of do it a little slower, maybe, than just throw her in and see if she sinks or swims. I think that's a tough spot for anybody to do, especially with an opponent like Texas Tech. So you'll definitely see her. She will be nervous. She will be excitable. But I'm just really looking forward to see her get to check into a game. And like our other international kids, the first thing we worked on is how you go about doing that. You don't have to stand on the side and wait for the official to do this, and you get to check in. So we've gone through that with all of our other kids. So we tried to make her a little bit better prepared. But the team's excited, she's excited. I just you don't ever know how that translates to is she going to play to her fullest potential, but like I told her, we're not going to judge her on her first game or the first 3 or 4 games. It's going to be a long time deal. So, but we are excited to have her back.
And kind of speaking of Texas Tech against SEMO again, kind of the slow start that you said it was on a couple of things. How important is it to get out fast against a team like Texas Tech?
I would say it's very important, but I don't know that for sure because we played our best minutes in our middle 10 minutes. I think you have to have a good half. I think starts, I tend to, as a coach, probably overemphasize them when we're good and de-emphasize them when we're bad. I just want us to have a good 20 minutes. I think our starts sometimes are a result of like I like to do a certain number of things every game at the first to see how other teams are going to play. And I think teams know that, so they're able to slow us down sometimes, and then we make some adjustments. I've toyed with the idea of changing our lineup, thinking maybe that has something to do with it. But then I worry about, well, are we going to get that spark off the bench that we've been getting? So I've been a little bit reluctant to do that. Long answer to your question. I do think with availability of Phoenix might be a little quicker to substitute than in the past without changing the starting lineup. So hopefully that answers what you asked. But I do think it's important. But I think it's just important that we have a good first half overall. And I don't want to make a tactical move that changes the other parts where we have been good. So, but it's tough to experiment against another team like Texas Tech that's used to the rigors of a 16 game conference schedule like they are. So, had it been a little at the schedule fallen differently, we might have tried something differently, but I think we've pretty much settled in on doing it this way.
And last question before I turn it over. You talked about kind of that middle 20 minutes. SEMO went on that giant run, only held them to 1 point, I think, for
Yeah.
maybe 8, 9 minutes. Where do you hope to build defensively from that game heading into again Texas Tech?
Well, from those clips, show the difference in our intensity level, and our focus was really good. We weren't very focused to start. I gave them the benefit of the doubt that was, stress related to their test, the going into their test. But now their tests are over, so I hope our focus is good. I hope our intensity and our communications are very good. We were able to show them on film because it wasn't like we changed a lot of things. We just kind of changed how we were doing it. Didn't change what we were doing, changed how we were doing. And I hope that they can learn from a win. Sometimes young teams have to lose to learn. And I hope that we're able to take that run and say, this is who we have the capability of being if we do stay focused and play with that intensity that we played in that run. I've never been a part of one like that, but it was very noticeable. It got our bench excited. It got our loyal fans that are there that have seen us, got them excited. And I think our kids had some positive film moments. I just hope we can learn from a win and not have to lose to learn.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
You got it.
Robin.
Hi, Coach. Love your
Hi,
Christmas
Robin.
decor. Izzy has been doing really well recently. What are you seeing from her as a coach, or what are you seeing from her in the locker room?
Yeah, it's hard to give leadership duties to somebody that's not been here the longest. A lot of years growing up, it was always seniors were captains because they had been there the longest. That I did learn from having Coach Kelsey Plum and a few others that, how many credit hours they have in the classroom doesn't necessarily translate to how many credit hours they have on the basketball court. But she came in immediately, earned the right, earned the respect to be able to do it. And it's a big task to ask for somebody that's new, but she's done it remarkably well. She does things in a manner that basically you can't question it. You just can't. You can't say, well, Izzy gets to, because no, you can't. She goes about, takes care of her business. She accepts responsibility. She's the first one to admit a mistake, take responsibility, and I think that's been contagious. So not only what she's done on the floor, but what she does in our huddles and our timeouts, helping. And she, along with Jenna, have done a lot of things in organizing events with our kids and things to do with our kids. She's really exceeded my expectations of what a player like that could possibly do off the floor. It's been kind of fun to see. And with all the talk about how things are in the portal these days, it's kind of nice to see a kid come in that wants to be a Razorback, has always wanted to be a Razorback, and she's making the most of every minute of it.
And I know you mentioned you guys are just now getting into talking about Texas Tech with the team, but what have you been seeing from them just from what you've noticed so far?
Yeah, they're multi-offense and multi-defense. They're going to really steal our practice time. We've this week, getting ready for a press, they run inbounds play defense that we're having to specially prepare for. That a few teams are starting to do it. We've seen it a few times, but they've adopted the theory on the inbounds play, on the inbounds underneath the basket, but that steals 15 minutes of our practice time. They're going to press this man. They're going to press this zone. They're going to trap. They're going to not trap. They're going to guard ball screens multiple ways. And that's just on the defensive side before you've ever even talked about anything offensive. So they're multifaceted. They can play. They can really change their lineups with their personnel on how they go about playing. So I'm glad we've had some time to prepare for them. I would not want to play them on a 1 or 2 day prep. So I'm glad that we have we haven't told our kids we've been working on them, but we've been working on them. Does that make, like, we do everything on the same preparation in 2 days, but we've been working on some things that they do because we needed the extra time. But they can change. 1 or 2 substitution can completely change the way they attack offensively and defensively. So we're having to be prepared for a lot of scenarios. I am glad we're playing them later in the year so that we can draw back on some previous games that we've played and say, remember when we played Oklahoma State? This lineup's going to remind you of that. This lineup's going to remind you more of Bowling Green. This lineup's going to remind you more of Oral Roberts. So that's how we've kind of attacked it. They play 9 or 10 kids almost every game, so there is a lot of personnel to cover that does change those tactics. So they're definitely dangerous. They've got 9 wins. You don't win 9 games, by this early in the season without having a good team. And I know their expectations for the season are real high. So fun matchup. It's what we look for when we schedule this one. It's the home and home. We'll return there next year. I think it's a good little regional matchup with another power conference.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ethan?
Yeah, Mike, they return their top two scorers, Shaven and Malpin. Just when you look at those two, what makes them a tough guard?
Well, they're experienced. They've been around. They've been in a lot of big games. They're type of kids you can't just guard one way. Like if we just say, "Hey, this is how we're going to guard them," and we don't make any adjustments along the way, they're going to figure it out. Like they're going to adapt as well to what we're doing. We call it make them wrong. They both got that ability. Shavers just got a green light. She's looking to be very aggressive on every touch. But if you overplay her, she's certainly willing passer. They play well off of each other, and they can really spread the floor. That gives, Snogo. We played against Marin a number of times when she was at Florida. She stretches that floor on you too. So, I think in general, the thing that when you look at Texas Tech is they can be explosive. They might go through a drought here or there, but you can't relax thinking that's what you're going to get the whole game because they can flip the switch pretty quick and really score in bunches.
And they're going to come in coming off a loss, which I know, I can go one of two ways for a team. What did you see if you have time to really dissect the SMU film that SMU did well against them to kind of slow them down?
The first thing that jumped off the page at me was SMU didn't really have many live ball turnovers. Texas Tech thrives off that. I think they were getting 20 to 25 points a game off of live ball turnovers. We call them touchdowns, turnovers for touchdowns, or fight song turnovers where the band plays a song at the end of it. So we got to avoid those. I felt like SMU was able to do that. And then SMU just really dominated the glass. And that's really not something that's in our toolbox. We don't typically dominate anybody on the glass. So, I kind of dismissed that one. We're going to try real hard, and then we're going to try to do that. But I don't think you look at them and go, it's just a team we're going to dominate on the glass. So we can focus on that turnover piece. Not only not have live ball turnovers, but let's score off of them. Seeing Keats make some shots the other night was good because a lot of times she's on the back end of that press offense. She can loosen them up a little bit with that. Vera's been playing well. Danny being back is a huge piece for us that I think was very noticeable in our last couple of games, having her back after missing her. So I think we'll have to play that way, not turn it over for touchdowns and then make them pay for using their pressure when they do. Finish off possessions with buckets. Then that slows them down offensively too because they take it out of the net. So I think those three things right there, Ethan, kind of work together. But again, we are going to point out the what SMU did to them on the boards and challenge our kids. I'm not sitting there saying we're going to out rebound them 52 to 28, something like that. But hey, let's be in the conversation. Let's not let rebounding beat us.
And then how do you feel like from day one to now, your team has progressed defensively? Some areas you've seen some improvement, maybe some areas you're still waiting to see some improvement.
Yeah, we're not good enough at any of it yet, but like our communication has gotten a lot better. We knew there was going to be some barriers in that area. So we've had to simplify and you've had to coach. And defense just takes a lot longer. I quoted Lewis Horton the other day, Dudley. I think Dudley remembers the quotable Lewis Horton. He always said, that, your defense is going to be very much scientific and your offense is art. So it's going to take some time, some trial and error, some experimenting. And I think we've done that. We've settled in. We've been able to play man and zone effectively back and forth with each other. Whereas for a while we were good in one and not good in the other. I think we're starting to kind of close the gap between the two, which now allows us to have a fastball and a changeup in a game. We're not just a one-pitch pitcher for baseball fans, but our communication has been the key to all of it. Understanding each other literally, our language barriers, and then also just the communication. Kids tend to be quiet when they don't know. Like if they don't know what to say, they tend to not say anything. I think they're now learning what to say and when to say it. And I think you're going to continue to see us improve there. But that's where our most improvement has happened. Ability to connect each other, where the ball screen defense is able to communicate with the ball screen person. We had some breakdowns in that, and it wasn't lack of effort. It wasn't lack of focus. It wasn't lack of intensity. It was just we were on different pages because of either we were saying the wrong thing or not saying anything at all.
Dudley.
Coach Broyles obviously made a tremendous decision moving Arkansas from the Southwest Conference to the Southeastern Conference. But you and I had our formative years growing up, watching the Southwest Conference. Do you get any special feelings when you play a Southwest Conference team these days?
Yeah, I do. I can't really impart that to our team and even some people that are around our program that weren't around during those times. But yeah, personally, yeah, I pulled out my Texas Tech glaze. You know those glazed glasses that we all had from all. I pulled my Texas Tech one out the other day just to kind of put it out front and center. Those are one of my collectibles that I really cherish having. Those were fun days, and the matchups. I remember a number of basketball matchups. The football matchups, I know I never went to Lubbock. For a game. That's one place in the SEC now, not the SEC, but the Southwest Conference that I never saw a game at. But I remember the basketball games well. So, yeah, I feel it. I try to tell a few people around me, but I don't spend much time trying to explain it to our players. They don't even remember 2 years ago, much less 25. But, yeah, you're right. The move was brilliant, but I do miss the Southwest Conference logo, everything that was about it. It was kind of cool because it bound us together. We were the only non-Texas school in the whole league, and it just kind of bound us all together when we were playing league games.
I remember the last time I went to Texas Tech, they had a new quarterback. I thought, he might be something. Turned out to be Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, not bad. He one of those guys that you didn't necessarily. If you could have bought stock in him, then you'd be a billionaire. Yeah,
appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Brett, you got anything?
Yeah, Mike, I want to ask you about their press. I mean, you probably could see that for 40 minutes. Do you have a sense whether they press just to speed you up or turn over, or do you think you might see something at some point like what ORU did? I felt like you would see more of that with teams really trying to keep Izzy away from handling the ball, the press, and leaving somebody open, but you haven't seen a ton of that since.
Yeah, I think they do it because they've got a deep bench. They want to play a lot of short minutes. I think they're trying to play a lot of players. I think she likes that pace. I know it's attractive to, recruits that are coming down the pipe. They're involved with some kids that I think want to play that style. So I think that's part of it. It does give you some way that you have to prepare. It forces us, like I was saying, to prepare a little bit less on our offense. It steals other people's practice times when you play that. There's a growing number of teams that are playing that style. And I think looking at our roster, we're going to play 9 teams that are kind of playing that way now. And that's way more than any time in the past. So I think it is an emerging philosophy. I think with Phoenix's becoming eligible, they're not going to have any film on her unless they go pull up some FIBA basketball from this summer. And they will. I mean, that's what people do. They'll have some, but they won't have any recent film on her. She gives us another ball handler that she will be our fastest player with the ball. It's not even close. So if they do choose to do that and we play those kids together, now you've got Izzy at the finishing end of some of that stuff, Brett. That's a little different. It's a little harder sometimes to guard the kid that's getting the ball, not the kid with the ball. So I know Izzy has been excited to have Phoenix be able to play in games. We've played a lot in practice together, but she is our fastest player with the ball. She makes good decisions with it in practice. I'm anxious to see how that translates to games. She'll make some early mistakes because of the speed of the game, but she'll also make some plays that help. So I hope they do. We like it when teams press us. It gets the tempo going the way we'd like to play. We've been better at handling and managing the ball and valuing the ball. So I kind of hope they do play that style rather than just kind of set back in the half court. So you got a rim protector. They do a good job protecting the rim, so it'd be nice to play a 94-foot game.
Any other questions? All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thanks again, everybody, for the day in between. Appreciate y'all.